Frax versus Maker, two of the biggest DeFi giants in the space today. What we're going to do is cover both of them and do a little comparison. Which one is the best? Let's get straight to it. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are covering two of the biggest DeFi giants. We know Frax very well on the channel. We've talked about it many times. Maker we haven't really spoken about too much, but I hope today we get a good idea of kind of some of the features behind both of them. We're going to focus really on the real world asset strategy. And as I'm sure you know, Frax has a real world asset strategy which involves SFrax. Maker does as well via its stablecoin called DAI. And we're going to kind of cover both of them. Now, the first thing to know is Frax, they offer the stablecoin Frax. Maker offer the stablecoin DAI. Now, DAI is significantly larger than that of Frax, multiple billions. Frax is probably around 1.5 billion in market cap. And both of these assets are involved with real world assets. Now, we'll talk about how that works. Let's go to Frax first, and what you can find is Frax, this stable coin, which is pegged to the dollar. You can stake it, and you can stake it for SFrax, where you can currently earn 6.3%. Now, where is this yield coming from? Well, it's coming from US Treasuries. Essentially, what's happening is the underlying Frax is used to buy treasuries by a public corporation called FinRes, which I believe is owned by the Frax team. And they basically pass over that yield directly to you. That's if you stake Frax, of course. Currently, the yield is a little bit higher than the treasury yield, and that's because they've actually incentivized it themselves with some extra tokens. But we should see this stabilize, around the overnight interest rate, which is probably around 5% or so. Currently, this has a supply of $44 million. We should see it increase because the rate is pretty good. Perhaps it'll get to 50 million or 100 million in future. I think we'll have to wait and see for that. It's very simple to do. You basically go to the Frax website. If you've got some Frax in your wallet, you connect your wallet and you basically just convert your Frax into SFrax. Now you might notice, hold on a second, I'm converting 1,000 Frax into SFrax. Why am I not getting 1-to-1? Well, that's because SFrax is obviously going up at a rate of 6.3% against Frax. So, in a year's time, you're only going to get, 94% of your Frax tokens because, it would have earned 6% in that time. And so over time, SFrax should continue to go up in value. So that's pretty much how Frax and their real world asset strategy works with SFrax. Maker are significantly bigger. They have DAI, again, a very simple interface. You just basically go to the Spark Finance, and if you've got 1,000 DAI, you can connect your wallet and convert your DAI into SDAI. And this currently earns around 5%, and you can see there's way more DAI in this. We're talking almost 1.7 billion. So yeah, significantly more. And again, you can basically forecast your earnings here. This interface is better than that of Frax in my opinion. But look, you can see, if you're earning 5% on your 1,000 or even 10,000, look, this is how much you're going to make in 1 year. So that's really nice to see. Both of these are liquid tokens, so you can actually take your SFrax or your SDAI and use it in other strategies as well in DeFi if you want. That's one of the best things about it. And there are definitely some similarities here between LSDs and these LS liquid staking treasury tokens, or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, that's pretty much how they work. You can see that Frax has a slightly better yield. I think this accounts to over 20% difference in terms of yield, but DAI has been around for a little bit longer and does have significantly more deposits, a better interface as well, in my opinion. Let's talk about both of these assets in a little bit more detail. So if we go to Frax Facts, we can actually see the backing of these assets. So Frax backing is actually slightly it's collateralized, but in terms of being fully collateralized, 100% in terms of stable backing, it isn't quite there. I believe it's around 91% at the moment, and the rest of it is backed by volatile assets, including FXS. In order to kind of figure out the collateral ratio yourself, you basically can go to this Frax Facts website. You can see the balance sheet for the Frax stablecoin. And essentially, to work out the collateral ratio, you can do this yourself as well. You basically have to take the total assets owned by Frax minus the locked liquidity and divide that by the liabilities. And that will give you the collateral ratio, which at the moment is around 91-92%. At the moment, the Frax protocol is taking all of its profits and using that to basically increase this collateral ratio to 100%. So that will take some time. All of the profits that Frax protocol is making is going towards that right now. So we'll have to wait and see how long that will take. I believe it will take a few months because, we've got to get from 92% all the way to 100%. And if we're talking, hundreds of millions, we do need to make maybe quite a bit of money before we can actually get there. But we will get there. And then Frax will be 100% collateralized by stable assets. Maker and the stablecoin DAI is backed by a variety of assets, so not just stable assets, but also Ethereum and all these different treasuries. You can see all the different collaterals on screen here. It even includes Coinbase, who do have some USDC with them, STETH, and then USDC, USDP. There's lots and lots of different assets that back DAI. Overall, DAI has a collateralization ratio of 153%, so it is technically a more safer asset than that of Frax. Total value locked is 8 billion and total issued is less than that anyway. Maybe it's 5 billion or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let's find out. Let's have a look quickly. DAI. Okay, yeah, so 5.5 billion, which is minted against this 8 billion in total value locked collateral. Now, some of these assets, like for example these real world asset strategies, like these Block Tower and Andromeda, and some of these other companies, they obviously have treasuries, US treasuries, and they are earning around 5% a year, 4.5%, 4%, 5%. You can see some of the yields on screen here. Some of these assets even earning more than that with ETH and BTC, and this yield is going to these DAI stakers. So that's pretty much where the yield is coming from. Where is the yield coming for Frax? Well, it's coming from this. So here's a nice diagram to basically see. You can see Frax gets sent to the SFrax contract, and SFrax goes to this public corporation called FinRes PBC, which basically invests in T-bills. That yield is received back and handed over to SFrax holders. So it's fairly similar in terms of where the yields are coming from. They're both coming from treasuries in the majority of cases, I think that's a good thing. It's good to see real world assets come to crypto. We're no longer seeing these worthless governance tokens being printed out and distributed to people, which eventually get farmed and dumped. This is real yield, and hopefully this can grow the entire space for sure. Now, in terms of revenue, at the moment, I should be able to see it here. DAI is making around $85 million a year. And if you were to basically use traditional ways to value this company, as you could say, it gives a price to earnings ratio of around 15, which is pretty decent actually. It's lower than the S&P 500 and many of the big tech companies as well. But yeah, $85 million, and to be honest, this is probably only going to continue to increase over time as Maker earn more money. A pretty simple strategy, but it works really, really well, especially in a high interest environment like we are at the moment. Frax, on the other hand, earn revenue from a variety of places. Now, the Frax's real world asset strategy is very new, so you don't expect too much revenue from there. But the Frax protocol as a whole has the Curve AMOs, which is basically a stability mechanism for Frax. They've got the Frax ETH staking products, protocol owned liquidity, which is earning those governance tokens, Frax Lend, and various other AMO revenues. All in all, that accounts to $55,000 a day, which is approximately $20 million a year. So Frax protocol is earning $20 million a year, whereas Maker is earning around $85 million a year. So quite a difference there. We're talking a 4x multiple there in terms of revenue. But I think Frax recently started their real world asset strategy. They've got Frax ETH version 2 coming out fairly soon. And at the moment, the focus is on getting the collateral ratio to 100%. Perhaps when that happens, then they can focus on increasing revenue directly for the protocol as well. So there are some differences there. You can see that Maker is not only bigger in terms of size, but also earns significantly more revenue. So yeah, just that is an important thing to bear in mind. Now, when it comes to governance tokens, we've got FXS, which is Frax Share. This has a market cap of 450 million, and Maker has a market cap of 1.3 billion. So you could kind of justify the 4x valuation there. I say 4x. I think we're talking 3.5 times more expensive Maker is, despite earning probably a little bit more than 4 times the revenue. I think they offer a few different products as well. Remember, Maker's only main product is DAI, whereas the Frax protocol has the Frax stablecoin, Frax Lend, Frax Swap, Frax ETH, and probably will continue to increase with now with SFrax as well. So some differences there, and I think that it's pretty important to realize that as well. But yeah, I think both are fairly undervalued at the moment in terms of their future growth, because I think the real world asset strategy is only going to increase, it's only going to grow more. But yeah, I think in terms of governance tokens, those are the two tokens. And then I think the last category that I want to just touch upon is the future. Now, when it comes to Maker, they have something known as Endgame, and the idea with Endgame is there's going to be quite a few different phases. The first one is there will be a rebrand. So Maker will have a different name, as will the stablecoin DAI, so there will be a rebrand there. They're going to launch a variety of sub-DAOs, and these sub-DAOs will specialize in developing specific services, really aiming to reach kind of new users. They will introduce AI in some way. I don't know how they're going to do this and kind of the process of how governance will work with this AI software, but I'm pretty interested to see how that works. And they are going to create like new governance tokens for some of these different sub-DAOs. So I don't know what your thoughts are about this, but it is kind of like printing money from thin air to some extent. I'm not sure how this will change the value of the new Maker token, whatever it's called, but we'll have to wait and see. And lastly, they are going to launch their own chain. I think that's kind of the way that we're seeing a lot of DeFi protocols move towards. That is what's happening. Frax, similarly, are also making their new chain. It's going to be an L2 chain, an optimistic and ZK hybrid chain. They are trying to implement Frax ETH as a gas token, and obviously the fees will be distributed to VEFXS holders. So that's going to be really, really interesting. Overall, I'm a big fan of both protocols. I did actually write a thread about this, comparing these different products in terms of the things that we've just covered today, the backing, the yields, the revenue, the future, the two tokens as well. My personal thoughts, I like both protocols. I'm a big fan of Frax, just because they're building lots of innovative stuff. But, Maker is a DeFi giant making massive cash flows. It's a great product. I think they both work really well. And I wish both of them, great success in the future. I think both of them will do well in the long term. As I'm sure many of you watching my videos know, I do hold FXS. I don't hold Maker. No financial advice. I don't know what the future holds. There is regulation or regulatory concerns around crypto as well, especially with the introduction of these real world assets and treasuries kind of coming on chain. The question is, what will happen if people from less economically developed countries start buying these real world assets? Will the US government do anything? It's a question that I have that I would like to know the answer to. But I think overall both protocols fantastic. I think both of them will grow, and yeah, that's it. MakerDAO and Frax Finance. That's all we've got today, and I will be back with plenty more content in the near future.